What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Hoops Betting Hour. I am your host, the big man on campus here, getting at you on a Sunday. It's Memorial Day weekend. We're back, another day, another dollar. More games in the NBA today. We get after it here and try to get after it again. Try to have some successful days. As I said, I haven't had a losing day. I've had some one-on-one days, but I've not had a bad day here on the show, I don't think, in the playoffs. So we continue to try to grind out weekly profit here on the Hoops Betting Hour. We're here every day, noon Eastern, Monday through Monday. Let's bring in our guest today, Spread Astaire. You're a regular Sunday guest. How you doing? Happy Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, having a great Memorial Day and enjoying these NBA playoffs so far. We were excited, a couple weeks ago when it kicked off, and it's lived up to expectations. Some great games, some exciting storylines developing.
Yeah, for sure. Again, welcome you in, everybody out there. If you're watching live or on the replay, thanks for checking us out. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. We are powered by PicksWise and presented by FanDuel. We're here all the way through the NBA Finals, so very exciting here on PicksWise. Let's get into some recaps, what we saw yesterday. As we talked about, we had 2 games in the East, 2 games in the West. The games got started, and I think it kind of went how I think we thought it would, kind of the collective of people thought it would here in the playoffs. I'm not sure that anyone thought the Heat would get swept. I thought they could maybe make it a series. Maybe they were a trendy team to take because they'd been playing so good really over the last month and a half of the season. But when you look down at brass tacks, the truth of the matter was the Milwaukee Bucks dominated the Heat. Heat couldn't score. They couldn't score consistently. Didn't get to 110 in any game in the series. They just had major issues with the length, the athleticism. They couldn't stop Giannis Antetokounmpo. The problem for the Heat all year had been they just couldn't get timely shooting. Tyler Hero took a major step back this season. They've got some real question marks going forward. And, I got to tell you, I know they played well towards the end of the season, Spread, but I think the difference for me with this team was I think they at least thought they would get Kyle Lowry, and that would really kind of propel them. It never really happened. I'm blown away that they were so high on Tyler Hero. It really was a tough season. Rough end for the Miami Heat against the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah, definitely Miami regressed big time, and a lot of questions on that team. Of course, the success in the bubble will now be scrutinized even more, and we'll see how much they take that into account when they're roster building. But one thing I do want to say about this series is something that we love to do on NBA Twitter, right, is run down Coach Bud. Let's give Coach Bud some credit. He made some adjustments this season, right? He went from running that 5 out with Giannis to actually moving Giannis down low, running a 4 out with Giannis in the dunker position. Excellent move. He switched his primary defending scheme. Remember last year he wasn't putting Giannis on Butler? He did it this year, right? So those were 2 major adjustments that he made, and it was so funny. Like, everyone wants to run him down as the worst coach in the NBA. I thought he did a fantastic job this season against a guy that I think we could say top 5 coach in the league without an argument, and he did as well, matched him move for move, and I don't see anybody giving Coach Bud any credit. So I'm here to give Coach Bud some credit. I'm looking forward to seeing how this next round turns out for the Bucks.
No, I thought he did a great job. That's a very keen eye by you. Budenholzer definitely doesn't get a lot of credit due to the fact that they haven't won anything. But and look, is he in that Brett Brown territory? I don't know. He said, yeah, probably. He's had a lot of good teams. It's not done anything with him. But let's see what he does this year. Maybe this is the team. Obviously, Drew Holiday, yesterday, 11 points. You had 4 steals. Just kind of does the little things. He was plus 10. Just consistency at the guard position. He's a great defender. Dispatching the Milwaukee Heat. Just a pitiful performance from that group. Another pitiful performance yesterday was by that of the Denver Nuggets. What a gutless performance by Denver. Really just disgusting to watch. I had the over in this game. Look, it was going to lose sooner or later. We got lucky in Game 3. It was 3-0 up until that point. I'm not going to play it next game, but you're really just kind of a pathetic, output, really. and I think it's clear. I mean, outside of Nikola Jokic, I mean, this team just doesn't get real. They just don't have a ton outside of him and Michael Porter. I mean, Porter with 3 points yesterday, just disgraceful. Jokic, didn't shoot the ball well. They really did a nice job, I thought, defending him, cut him in a different way. There just wasn't a ton of offense here. I mean, their leading scorer outside of Jokic was Campazzo and Monte Morris. Not ideal. And let's remember also, this doesn't bode well going forward. The Trailblazers won by 20 points. Damian Lillard was 1 for 10 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3, and had 10 points. Not ideal for Denver going forward.
Yeah, but this is one that they'll just throw away, right? I think it's easier to overcome a loss like this than maybe like a 2-point loss in a game that we'll talk about, like the Knicks suffered in Game 1. What I did notice, and you'll see things, and this is why Malone and other veterans, they're really loath to trust younger players, because this is what happens when you get a young guy like Michael Porter Jr., right? He can just have these sort of games, whereas veterans kind of know the tricks to make themselves effective, even on days they're not shooting well. Porter Jr.'s not developed that level of basketball IQ yet. Not saying that he won't. I think he will. He's a fantastically talented player. But when you have a really young player as your second option, you're definitely vulnerable to these type of performances. We saw it yesterday, but honestly, I think that you throw it out and you just cap Game 5 like it didn't happen. They'll go back to Denver, fresh start. They don't get behind and feel that scoreboard pressure. Could be a different outcome here. I'm not going to read too much into it. It's a 2-2 series, and Denver's got 2 of the last 3 at home. It should be really interesting, and I would not, as bad as they looked yesterday, still wouldn't be that crazy to see them advance to the next round.
Yeah, definitely need a bounce back. I thought Portland did some pretty good things on Jokic, but again, the rest of the team just didn't really step up. Ugly stuff. That over finally loses game and series tied up 2-2. Quickly, Sixers easily dispatched the Warriors. This series is over. I don't think anyone had any real thought that the Wizards could even win a game here. Now it's just a question of how many points did the Sixers win Game 4 by. They win last night by 29, score 132. We're on fire from 3. This series is over. Pretty simple. Let's move on, right?
Yeah, I mean, real quick, all I'd have to say is when we start talking about these players historically, this is why MVPs don't mean a lot to me. If you say, oh, well, he was MVP 4 times, right? Because look, why right now, Joel Embiid, what's today? Sunday, May 30th, 2021, Joel Embiid is the best player in basketball. He is the best player in basketball. He's better than LeBron James. He's better than Anthony Davis. He's better than Jokic. He is the best player in basketball right now, and he's not going to get the MVP because he missed 10 to 15 games. But when we're trying to use this historically and say that, oh, well Jokic was the best player this year, he really wasn't. It's Joel Embiid, and we saw that yesterday.
And this is why, with the voting, if the Nuggets lose in the first round of the playoffs, I get it's valuable player, whatever, but I agree. Look, Jokic has been very good, but yeah, it sucks, and that's but that's the durability issue sometimes that Embiid has. Look, all in all, though, being around this town, being close, I mean, you can see, just a totally different player, man. I mean, I think for most of his career up until this year, he's given 75, 80%. Now he's given 110%. I mean, he's playing like a completely dominant individual. Now, again, it's important to discuss. The Washington Wizards have no rim protection whatsoever. And I think he's going to have if it's indeed Atlanta in the next series, Capella's pretty good. I mean, that's definitely tougher than what he's playing here and facing here. But as you said, a top player in this league. Where do you put him? So you put him? Was that your quote? You say he's number 1?
Right now, I think Joel Embiid's the best player in basketball.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not giving him that lofty, mark, but I think he's top 5 for sure. Final game. Listen, Utah's very good with Donovan Mitchell back. Shout out to Ski Prophet. He zeroed in on this over. I actually played it. Didn't throw it out there, but I tailed him. It was a great play by him. I really made a great and strong case for the over. Jazz have been wanting to play faster, and they got out, and this third quarter was terrific. 68 points really helped. kind of a slower second quarter. So, yeah, very happy with the outcome. And the Jazz look like they've taken control of this series. Memphis must get Game 4. They have to do it. No excuse.
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot of fun to watch. What a great performance by Donovan Mitchell. And boy, I had the Jazz -5. Was a little worried there. I think Donovan, they had a 14-2 run to end the game. Donovan Mitchell had 10 of those points, and during that time, Memphis was 0 from 9 from the field. They did not choke. That was fantastic defense by the Jazz. They forced them into tough shots. And, you just have to give the Jazz credit. I don't take away anything from Memphis for that loss. I thought that was a Utah Jazz win. And if you are a Jazz backer or someone holding a Jazz ticket to win the West, that's the type of performance you need to be encouraged by. They looked good. They felt a little test at the end, but then when it mattered, they were able to raise their level. So I thought it was a pretty encouraging performance from the Jazz backers. But like people said, this is maybe against a number 9 seed, right? I mean, I still can't believe that Memphis beat the Warriors here. So let's not go ahead and crown the Jazz yet, but definitely an encouraging performance for Jazz fans.
I'm going to say this because I've been kind of skeptical just because I didn't know what the status of Mitchell and Conley was going to be in this series. Mm-hmm. But if they play like this, like if they play like last night, they will beat anyone in the West. It's that simple.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
You're going to get 29 and 27 from Conley and Mitchell. Gobert gives you 15 and 14. Bogdanovich gives you 15. Clarkson gives you 15. And how about this? Royce O'Neal gives you 12. I'm going to tell you this. If Royce O'Neal's giving you 12 every game with the defense he plays, not going to be a lot of teams that beat you. So we'll see if the Jazz can keep getting this kind of success. Listen, we remember back during Michael Jordan's years with Karl Malone and John Stockton and Byron Russell and those teams. Those are the best teams. Obviously, we remember from the Jazz. We'll see if this team can find that level of success. The Jazz, throughout their history, for the most part, have been that we get there type of team. We don't ever win. Remember, Michael beat them a couple times. So we'll see if the Jazz can't make better success of what's going on today. Now, let me ask you, when you look at the Jazz currently in the betting markets, I want to get something up here. Futures, right? The Jazz to win the West are plus 210. To win the entire thing, they're 7-1. So currently they're the second choice to win the West and the fifth choice to win the title. I mean, would you agree that, again, we continue to see consistently, we saw it all season, that when the Jazz are fully healthy, they're very tough. 2-1 to win the West. I think you can make the favorite. They're the favorite. Why not? Why aren't they the favorite? I mean, especially when you have real quick.
Okay.
AD, the guy gets injured literally every game.
Mm-hmm.
I think defensively, the Jazz, they're not the Lakers, but they're pretty damn close. And I know, look, the Lakers are always going to be the favorite in this kind of situation, but I think the true favorite could be the Jazz. No?
Yeah, there's definitely a point. So I would say if you were just to argue from the betting perspective, the Lakers would still have the best player on the floor in LeBron James in that matchup, and we know how much that matters in the NBA. The Lakers would still have, the benefit of the doubt on very close calls because we know that Adam Silver would rather have Anthony Davis and LeBron James in the finals, especially in a potential matchup against the Nets, right? Or the 76ers, right? Against these big East Coast powerhouses. Media
That's
market.
So hard to dictate for 7 games, 6 games.
Yeah, it is. But the last one that I would say is also, I think these markets have to be set for, number one, the Lakers fan base is 5 times the amount of the Jazz fan base. And I would also say, and this is all, I'm just, speculating and maybe stereotyping a bit, but I would say the Lakers fans are also more likely to gamble than the fans of the Utah Jazz. And just the fact that they're not taking any handle there probably dictates something that they just do have a lot of liability on the Lakers and not much on the Jazz, which is why they can give you a more generous price.
I'm still not ready to give up hope. Obviously, today's game for Phoenix is a must-have. Mm-hmm. I mean, it has to happen. I mean, you really can't. You can't really mess around any further. am I fully ready to say the Lakers will completely dominate and roll in that series? They've got nothing from Chris Paul. They've still been somewhat relevant, at least. We'll see. But you're right. You said some good things. I definitely hear you. But, I mean, some of the people in this chat, I mean, are just making ridiculous statements as far as, like, you know, why would you waste money on the Jazz? Hello, because they're the 1 seed and they've been dominant with everybody healthy. And let's remember, the Lakers have had issues all the year scoring consistently. Look, I know they're good, and I know defensively they're solid. They have LeBron. Let me ask you this. I mean, am I crazy to say this is not this isn't 10 years ago LeBron James? I mean,
Right.
He's towards the end of his career. You can make the case he's not the best player on the team. You know, are they going to get the rest of the, supporting group to step up? I mean, I don't always see Dennis Schroeder playing at a high enough level. I don't always see Kyle Kuzma playing at a high enough level. And Gobert is a much different animal than maybe an Ayton or somebody else. So to say that the Jazz are these huge dogs against the Lakers is just not true.
If they do meet, what do you think the series would be lined at? I think it would be like Lakers minus 140, minus 150, and the
Sure.
Lakers would probably take money.
But we're we're basically saying at this point we can get 210 on the Suns, because I think we can all agree that outside, if you put the Lakers at 1, the Jazz are the second best team. It's not it's not even a question. So yeah, look, I will gladly fade all these guys that only bet in the NBA playoff type of people that are going to bet the Lakers because they love the Lakers. I think the Jazz are pretty damn good. So we'll see. You always have these, and NBA is great because there's always these guys that say they know a ton about the NBA, and that might be true, but gambling's a different animal. Okay, we're taking account of numbers, and we're going against certain biases and that kind of thing. So. I'm going to say I think it's a decent, worthy price. All right, let's get into today's action. We've got 4 games here. We've got 2 on the East, 2 on the West. Let's jump into it. Now, remember, we've got about an hour till tip. Knicks at Atlanta. Atlanta laying 5, total 209 currently at FanDuel. We go back to Friday evening. Hawks won the game by 11, really kept the Knicks at arm's length, and really did some great things. The second quarter was really the backbreaker for the Knicks. They get outscored 29-13. Listen, I'm going to say this till the day I die. If you are an NBA team and you cannot get to at least 20 in every quarter, I mean, that's just deplorable. I'm not sure how it's possible in 12 minutes to only score 13 points. That's just crazy. But I will say this, and I've given him crap over the years. Nate McMillan's done a hell of a job with this team. Defensively, they have completely taken away Julius Randle. And go back and listen to my breakdowns. I love the Hawks in this series because, not that I don't like Randle, but Capella is legit, man. The guy's a good defender. He is the reason that this team, I think, outside of Young, is here. Getting a guy like Clint Capella is gigantic. He's really seeming to just really enriched in this role down in Atlanta. I love what I've seen out of him. Randall's just wilted. Outside of Derrick Rose, they've gotten very little consistency. Alec Burks, what happened to him? I guess that was just a one-off in the first game, and they still didn't win. I think that takes a lot out of you. We know how good Atlanta is at home. One thing I know about this series is it has been very low possession. It's been very low offensive numbers. It's been, outside of Trae Young, just pretty hard to watch, frankly. Probably not going to play this game. I think it's a tough one. It's an early start. I think that always bodes well to unders. It's the playoffs. I'm going to envision that this game's probably closer than what we saw in game 3. I'm going to lean on the Knicks. I just think you have to get something out of Randall at some point, don't you? This is a do-or-die game. If the Knicks lose, this series is over. It's that simple. I don't always like to go on those kind of particulars. Oh, well, they have to play well. Well, it doesn't mean they're going to. It just has the heat. But I think the I think the Knicks have a little bit more toughness in them. I think 5's worth probably a little bit of a shot here. I'm staying away from this series, though. I have the Hawks. I'm happy with where I am in it. What do you like here, Spread?
Yeah, you should be happy. And I agree with everything you said except for one thing. I think this has been a lot of fun to watch. I've really enjoyed every single game.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me say, I love defensive series.
Okay.
I think for most neutrals, though, they haven't enjoyed it.
Okay, yeah, then that could be fair here. So the handicap of this game really comes down to what do you think of Julius Randle? If you think he's been exposed, just a regular season player, and this is who he is, bet the Hawks and bet him easily. Because with these performances that Julius Randle has been giving, this team has no chance, right? I mean, I was arguing him for being an all-star over Trae Young in midseason when we were doing our podcast. Boy, I'm not too happy to have that audio out there floating around on the internet because, he has, you said it, the word was perfect. You said wilted, and not Wilt Chamberlain, just wilted like a flower. So absolutely terrible performance from him. Another reason, though, if you are interested in backing the Knicks, will the Hawks shoot 60% from three again? I've been using these arguments a lot. Got burned on the Mavericks, right? Because I said they would regress. They did not regress. They even shot 50% from three in their loss, which we'll get to a little bit later. So not necessarily a for sure thing, but, Randall, he's got to play better. R.J. Barrett had an absolutely terrible game either, and I trust him to bounce back a little more, mainly because he's not getting the same attention that Randall does. I mean, you talked about McMillan. They've done a great job. They have schemed him. They've made him uncomfortable. He doesn't look to be himself, and when I was watching the game as a Knicks backer, I want the ball in Rose's hand on every possession. I want Randall to get rid of it. I don't trust him right now. I don't trust his decision-making, shot-making, and the passing just hasn't been there. They've done a great job of shutting down those sight lines. That being said, with all those concerns, I do think that Randall gets better. I still think that he's a better player than what he's shown so far. I think R.J. Barrett plays a little better. The Hawks cool off a bit. I'll take the Knicks to cover the 5.
Yeah, I think obviously there's one point of contention the Knicks must do today if they want to win this basketball game. It's pretty simple. You look at it in the game that the Hawks lost in this series, 101-92 up in New York. There were two things that happened, one of which was, Spread mentioned it, in Game 3, the Hawks couldn't miss from three. Again, that game, that one they lost, 12 for 44. That's 27%. They must do that today. If they do that today, they can win this game, and they'll have a very good shot. I will give Julius some credit. I thought in Game 2 he actually was pretty good. I know he was only +3, but he had 15 and 12, 4 assists. He didn't shoot the ball real well, but he did give them something. And if he's going to give them, it has to be at least that. I'm not going to say, look, I need 25 every game, but you got to give him at least that. I'm going to just assume that they are better today. They're not going to shoot 60% from three. The Knicks will be better defensively. I'm going to side with you here. Now, again, this is not a best bet for me. It's not going to be included in my card, but I think the Knicks worth a little shot. People are saying maybe Knicks money line. Do you just say they either win or they don't? Do you just kind of chalk this up that it's going to go deep and 6 or 7 probably? I don't hate it, but 5 I just feel way more comfortable that if this game is low scoring, I'm going to really want 5 points in my back pocket. So.
Let me ask you a question about the total real quick. We saw this in Portland yesterday, right? 4 games go to the over. It finally goes under.
Yeah.
Today, we've got 3 games to the under here.
Yeah.
They've dropped it to 208.5. At 208.5, though, all these games would have been under still. Do we just keep riding this this wave, or do you think that maybe it's like a Portland situation where the dam finally bursts?
Well, look, here's the thing that bodes well for that. When we look at the Knicks, okay, they're generally, and they throughout the season were very good 3-point shooters. This group was 3rd in the NBA in 3-point percentage at 39%. So you're not going to see any drop-off. They're going to shoot 36 to 40% generally every game. When we look at Atlanta, they have some tailed off ability. I mean, they shoot it kind of middle of the pack in the NBA. So while I don't think they shoot, close to 60%, I think they're a little bit more normal, which bodes well. You just have no pace in this game. You'd expect Randall to be more involved. You'd expect I would lean over. Okay. It's tough. I mean, you want to take unders just because you've seen so many unders, and this seems like just a knockdown 98-95 type of series. But I don't have much thought on the total. unders are tough to begin with in the NBA. Playoffs, they get a bit easier. But
Yeah.
I'm going to just lean with maybe taking a shot a little bit with the Knicks here. I'm going to hope for a last-ditch effort. And in retrospect, it's not a terrible spot to be in with a future on the Hawks just because, if they do win this game and cover, my goal is they win by like 3. That way I go up 3-1 and
and you
I
get
win,
that. Yeah.
But,
Hey, one other wacky trend I wanted to throw out here. Knicks, best first half team in the regular season, 0-3 in this series so far. Is that another one that might turn around? Because I'm thinking if they cover, we might get the first half cover as well. These teams need to come out. Knicks need to come out stronger because I think a lot of their regular season success was dictated off that scoreboard pressure.
Yeah, we'll see. I just, all in all, I'm mostly staying away, but it would lend to it. You kind of want them to be up at the half here to feel good about it. I don't want to have a 5. If I have a +5 ticket, I don't want them to, obviously be down or you always want a strong start. This is punch your mama in the stomach defensive. Well, who does that? Maybe not say that one, but I get what you're saying. It is a knockdown dragon affair. Akbar. I've listened to the Sit Down 3 episodes. Can you throw Al Capone? Yes. Listen, guys, Akbar, I'm not knocking you. Listen, we can only do one a week. Okay, we got a lot of guys to do. We'll get to Al Capone for sure. For sure. But thank you for listening. Appreciate you. All right, let's go to the next game here. Phoenix Suns at the Lakers. Lakers laying 6.5. Total 209.5. We go back to Game 3. A lot like the Knicks game on Friday night. Lakers kind of controlled it. Won 109.95. Kind of rolled. Won by 14. Not ideal for the Suns. They continue to get very little out of Chris Paul. And you and I talked about it. If Chris Paul doesn't play well, they're screwed. It's pretty simple. He obviously is hurt. He didn't practice yesterday. He says he's good to go. At Chris Paul's age, does he have to practice every day? No. But I have major issues, and I want to root for Phoenix. I'd love to see them knock off the Lakers. Are you just willing to think, hey, they're going to get something more out of Chris Paul than what they already have, which has been nothing? I don't know what to say. I really am sickened about this series because I felt so strongly about the Suns. I wanted them to have a shot, but they just are so unlucky in this series. It's just hard to really contend with anything. When you look at Anthony Davis for the Lakers, he has been the bell cow. They continue to go to him. Outside of Game 1, he has been terrific. I got to tell you, Spread, I'm going back to the well with AD. I see nothing to make me believe that the Suns can stop him. I don't think Ayton has much shot. I don't really know where you go outside of him anyway. I think you just keep making him the focal point. 25.5 on a team total. On a point total. I'm going to rock with it. I'm just going to keep kind of staying with AD. I don't think the Lakers are going to tail off much offensively. I think this is kind of what they are, or better, with this group of players in there. I know AD was hurt. I don't put much stock into it. He's always kind of banged up. So I'm going to rock with that he's fully healthy, and I'm going to lean on the fact that he gets high 20s here.
Yeah, I mean, even if he's not fully healthy, when has he ever been fully healthy, right? I mean, the guy's lived on the injury report, so I'm not concerned with that at all either. And this is just a shame. It's a shame. This could have been a fantastic series. I really think the Phoenix, I favored LA, but I think the Phoenix could have really put some fear into Los Angeles' heart and really put them to the test and maybe expose some vulnerabilities for teams to scout for the next round. We're not seeing that, and it's simply due to Chris Paul's health. This team was a lottery team last year without Chris Paul. Obviously, they would have improved. I think Monty Williams was doing a great job over there. The role players have definitely stepped up. DeAndre Ayton, give him credit, definitely improved over the offseason. Give him credit, but they're not ready to go from being a lottery team to taking on the defending NBA champions without their their emotional leader, Chris Paul, who sets the tone for the team. He gets them up when they need to go. When they're lagging, he gets them up. When they're too excited, he slows them down. And talk about controlling the game and the tempo of the game and using scoreboard pressure. When they have the lead, he dictates the tempo perfectly, because a lot of times these guys will dribble it out too far, right? He knows exactly when to get it. He can get it to Booker, give him time to work, and their end of game sets were beautiful during the year, and we can't even get down on him. It's not like the Julius Randle situation where it's like, what's going on? We know what's going on. He's in his late 30s and he's got a shoulder injury. Probably not going to heal too fast. The basketball fan in me hopes that, he got a great night's sleep and he comes out and we see the guy that we've seen all year. The realist in me realizes that people over 30 don't recover from injuries that quickly. And what I saw out there was a guy that, if this was the regular season, would be shut down for a month. So I can't have faith here. I'm going to go ahead and take the Lakers here, minus 6.5. And, if Chris Paul's miraculously better, I'll eat the loss. But if it's the same player I saw on Friday night, I feel pretty comfortable about this wager.
Yeah, and remember, with Chris Paul not being a factor whatsoever, you can run at Booker a lot more. You don't have to pay him much money. It just really sucks. It's bad luck for the Suns. All right. Sometimes people get too enamored by regular season success. Well, it's the first round of the playoffs. Of course, we're going to vote off what we saw in the regular season. I don't think anyone said it's not irrelevant. We're just – I don't know if we've even said anything about that. We're just kind of, again, Spread, it's the first round, so you're still taking stuff from the regular season. That's pretty normal.
And if we were to try to judge the last time we saw Phoenix in the playoffs, it was what, like 2013?
So how's that relevant?
What would we do?
Right. Yeah. Is that relevant, Antoine? We've had pretty good success on this show, so we'll just continue doing what we're doing, all right, brother? I'm still going to use the regular season because, and look, in the Lakers case, it doesn't make that much there's not much to write home about there, but,
Right. And we've identified the teams that the regular season numbers are not accurate. The Lakers are one of them. The Clippers are one of them. The Sixers are one of them because they had missed so much time, right? You can't just spit a model in, say, okay, I took every single game. This is the average they win by. This is their offensive efficiency. That's not going to work for certain teams.
Well,
right? We understand that.
What I'm noticing here, and I consider myself a bit of a detective. I'm pretty smart with this kind of stuff. What I'm starting to notice here is Antoine Murphy's a Laker fan. He doesn't like what we're saying about the Lakers. Right. It's pretty clear. He didn't like the Jazz talk. He wanted us to give more love to the Lakers, and he's a Laker fan. It's pretty clear.
Okay.
So make sure
he's got a pretty good place because he's got two of the best players in the NBA leading the way, and the other players just seem to be getting hurt left and right in the West, as we'll talk about later. I'm a little worried about Luka, so we'll see how it turns out. But if I'm a Lakers fan, I'm pretty happy with how these playoffs are progressing so far.
So, you're looking Lakers. I like that call. I'm going to lean on Anthony Davis. I've seen nothing to believe that the Phoenix Suns. And look, we've seen it in the Philly series against the Wizards. Joel Embiid has dominated, continues to dominate, really kind of gets whatever he wants. And as we know, Davis is becoming and has become the focal point of that offense. So I'm going to rock with over 25.5 points here for AD and call it a day.
That's the best matchup of all 8 series. Wouldn't you say AD versus those Phoenix bigs? It's just, or it's either Embiid versus the Wizards bigs. I was wrong. That's number 1. But AD versus the Phoenix bigs is number 2. Yeah, as far as exploitable matchups from like a prop or daily fantasy perspective.
And the problem is, you just have no one to go to because, Jay Crowder is going to be on the perimeter in the wing. He doesn't give you much down low. Ayton can't do it. Dario Saric, he plays in the wing as well. Frank Kaminsky, come on.
Kaminsky got waived by the Kings this year. That's how good a player he is.
Could you agree that maybe the Suns have the worst big group defensive? There are some bad ones, obviously the Wizards and some other team, Celtics, but this is pretty bad rim protection wise. All right, next game, Brooklyn at Boston. Brooklyn laying 8, total 229. Shout out to Boston. They got a win the other night. I didn't think they were capable of that. But let's look at how they did it. They did get 50 out of Jason Tatum. They had Robert Williams. They're not going to have him tonight. And look, I'm not going to say I've given Robert Williams a ton of applause in his career, but he's done a nice job over the years with this group. Robert Williams has been a factor in this series, and in 3 games, he's a plus 21. Without him, they've been a mess, frankly. So the fact that you're not going to have Robert Williams tonight on a team that already doesn't have much rim protection, that's a huge loss. Coupled with that you don't have Jaylen Brown to begin with. You're not going to get 50 tonight, likely, from Jason Tatum. Limited Kemba Walker. I don't really know. You're off a loss if you're the Nets. I really don't know how you don't go to the Nets here again. I know they didn't get it done in game 3, but I'm going to kind of go back to the well with something I played on Friday night. It came in, and the Nets are a team that on average generally get to this. Again, on average, they score 118 points per game. I think the Celtics just get shredded at the rim without Robert Williams. Keep in mind, Williams played in game 3, and they still scored 118 or whatever, 119. I'm going to go over 118.5 here for the Nets. I think the Nets laying the points is the play as well. But I'm going to rock with that. Nets team total over 118.5.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a confident team. It almost feels like they punted that game, which is crazy. Punt a regular season game, fine. Now we're punting playoff games. And the reason I say that is Kevin Durant's commitment on the defensive end. We saw in games 1 and 2 that he is a nightmare matchup for Jason Tatum because he's just as fast, but he's taller, which means he can contest every shot. He's not vulnerable to the drive, so he can play him close, and he really gave Tatum troubles. He was so complacent when they switched. He allowed Tatum to basically just dictate his matchup. I don't expect to see that again, right? I think they learned their lesson that, hey, we need to keep Durant on Tatum, and it's going to be an easy win. That's what I expect to see tonight. Obviously, Kyrie Irving had a little bit of jitters returning to Boston. Wondering if some of all the peripheral stuff going on there got into his head. That definitely could be an issue here. But overall, I like Brooklyn here to bounce back. You talked about it. I mean, Boston was already done when Jaylen Brown went down, right? Now they lost Robert Williams, who's been absolutely fantastic. He got, 8 or 9 blocks in game 1?
Yeah, he was a big-time factor.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's a big – and we talk about blocks, and that's actually one of the most, I think, stats that can be misused. But when you get 8 or 9 blocks, you're probably close to 18 to 20 shot contests. That is absolutely huge to take that out of the lineup. Tristan Thompson, still a solid NBA role player, but really can't get it done like Williams. Give me the Brooklyn Nets here.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on it. I would venture to go that way myself. I think Boston has heaping mounds of trouble here. And look, I'd imagine Brooklyn's a little pissed off. You never want to lose a game in the playoffs. Obviously, you mentioned how it kind of ended. You just kind of chalked it up. They're kind of keeping the Celtics at arm's length. I think we all are well aware the Celtics can't keep up with the Nets, really. And if you had 10 games they played each other, Boston might win 1. They won the 1. I don't think they're not going to get another one. I'm going to lean on the Brooklyn Nets. The one thing we know about them is I trust their offense always. They have the best offense in the NBA. We have an offense that should get to the rim at will without – let me ask you. Who on God's green earth is the rim protectors tonight for the Celtics? Can you answer that?
Tristan Thompson, and I mean, he's not that good anymore. It's not 2016 anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What the hell do you have here? Now, keep in mind, KD, Irving, and Harden had 96 in the last game. I think you get a little bit more for kick-out threes to Joe Harris. Maybe Blake Griffin gives you a little bit more. I'm just really trustworthy of, I think, what we're going to see tonight from the Nets offensively. Plus, I don't have to worry about a spread here, which I'm kind of happy about. This could get maybe hairy late. Maybe it's 124, 114, 115, something like that, and, it's close. But just get me into the 120s, and I'll be happy here. All right, let's move on. We got one more game to talk about. Then we'll give out some best bets. We get the Clippers and the Mavs. Clippers laying 3.5 at Dallas. Total 222. As we know, with this series, Clippers had to have it the other night. They were kind of in a precarious spot, down 2-0. They get a win the other night, and I got to tell you, I think they evened up the series today. I was pretty happy with what I saw out of, obviously, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And, what the hell is up with Luka Doncic? What is his status? He's questionable. We know he's a tough kid. We know he's going to probably be out there. But, are you starting to kind of get, wonder about some of his behavior on the court, Spread?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would really like the Mavericks here, except that Luka injury was really giving me pause. I mean, talk about the biggest one-man team left in the playoffs. I think I can make a solid argument that it is the Dallas Mavericks. As great as the supporting cast has been playing, he's the heart, the soul of the whole offense. So I would love the Mavericks in this spot. I'm just worried that he's not 100% healthy. So that's why I'm really hesitant to get involved. This team screams live betting all over it. Give me a chance, or at least I got to at least see the warm-ups or something. Like, for example, I didn't get involved in that Lakers game on Friday until I saw the video of Chris Paul warming up, right? And I saw how bad that shoulder looked. I said, never mind, give me the Lakers. I think this is one of those situations. Go ahead and watch it. And see where Luka's status is. I think if Luka's 100%, I do like the Mavericks here to bounce back. But if he's not, this could be blowout city. So I'm definitely hesitant to get involved in this game.
I think if we get, and look, I'm not one to bet against Luka Doncic. I think he'll be fine. I mean, he's so good, and he'll come out and drop 35, and it won't be a problem. One thing we know about both these teams, very good offensively, top 10 both in offensive efficiency, very good. I think the total is probably a little low. Keep in mind, 2 out of the 3 games went over. The first game, the only reason it didn't go over is because the Clippers were undoubtedly poor in that game offensively. Couldn't make any threes or anything. This is a Clipper team that's very good from 3. This is a Dallas team that can make threes as well. I think they're a little overvalued, Dallas, defensively. So I think there's some value here on an over. I don't know if it's going to get into the high 240s like Game 2 did, but I think, Game 3 is kind of indicative. And 222 is not bad. Mm-hmm. I mean, 116, 106 is kind of what you need there to get an over. So it's not terrible. I think even if you get an 80 or 90% Luka Doncic or 75%, the game probably goes over. I think we get a better performance out of Dallas, let's say in the fourth quarter. They weren't very good in the fourth quarter. It's really kind of the difference in the game. Remember at the end of the third, this was a 3-point game. The live number was 3.5. I think if you had any kind of smarts in your head, you probably thought, okay, probably want to lay the 3.5 live here. The Clippers are going to win this game, and they're probably going to win pulling away. But the Clippers, this is where the Clippers are interesting, because if they can get high 20s out of Paul George, 30s out of Kawhi, and they get Morris, Zubac, Ibaka, and or Reggie Jackson, 2 out of those 4 to give you 15 or 20, they're going to win most games. So I'm going to lean over. I think that's probably the play I'm looking at. I kind of want to, as the day goes on, keep in mind it's only 12:43 Eastern. This game doesn't go for another 9 hours. I kind of want to hear a little bit more out of Luka Doncic and maybe kind of delve in. Maybe I can find some Slovenian information out. Maybe he texts his mother or something, and I can get something on it. So we'll see. But
hey, Jeff, real quick, and this goes into your over. Let's talk about the adjustment that the Clippers made in order to win that game, right? They got rid of those Zubac minutes. They went with the smaller lineup. They went 5 out, and they let Kawhi and Paul George operate with impunity one-on-one on the outside with 4 shooters, which meant once they beat their man, they got to the rim. Rather than Zubac being down there was an easy roll, and they were shooting all these contested shots at the rim. We know that, at the rim, it goes from like 90% to 50% with a contest in the NBA. So I thought that was a huge advantage. I'd run down Ty Lue earlier and been really disappointed with his performance so far and the rotations. I'll have to admit, I was wrong about the Reggie Jackson minutes. He got it done. I wasn't a fan of him getting more minutes over Rondo. They managed to work that out. But the main thing that I saw was running 5 out, and I thought it met Kawhi's and PG's isolation so much more effective. And I think that's a great adjustment that I don't know how Dallas will counter it. So I think that will play well into betting the over tonight.
Yeah, the only thing that gives me pause and doesn't make this a best bet is the fact that these teams are so slow offensively. Yeah. I mean, they're both playing 93 possessions a game, which is, I mean, couple this to the regular season. This is what playoff basketball means, okay? So during the regular season, the Clippers were the slowest team in the NBA at 99.5 possessions. They're playing at 93. I mean, it's incredibly lower. Dallas was third slowest. They play at 100.2. They're at 93. Keep in mind, in Game 3, they only played at 90 possessions. And they still went over. 118, 108. That just shows you how efficient these teams are. So at 90 possessions, they're still going over. So obviously, I think they're a little bit faster today, and the game still in that one went over. So I lean over. It's not the strongest play in the world, but we go over every game here. We give you a pick for every game, or at least attempt to, and give you some kind of lean or something. So let's rock with that and go up and lean over the total. Let's get to best bets, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. Maybe we'll throw out a couple other things here as we wrap up Sunday. Best bets for me. I'm going to go with the over for the Brooklyn Nets, team total over 118.5 against the Celtics. I'm also going to take Anthony Davis. I'm going to go over 25.5 points. I just see, you look at the last two games, 34 and 34. I see no reason to believe that Anthony doesn't have high 20s into the 30s. He's just been a bell cow on offense and just has been a matchup nightmare for the Suns. What about you, Spread Astaire? What do you like here, best bets?
Give me the Brooklyn Nets for my best bet of the day, Jeff. I love this bounce back spot here for this team that I was a little bit complacent in Game 3. I expect they get it back today. They take advantage of Robert Williams being out, get to the rim with impunity, see a little better effort on the defensive end, especially in fighting through those screens to deny Jason Tatum the ball. I believe that if Jason Tatum is not running the offense, that this team is really going to struggle to score, even against the Brooklyn Nets defense that I do not rate too highly. So give me the Brooklyn Nets to bounce back and cover the -7.5.
Yeah, I like that one myself. I definitely am considering taking it as well. Cynical Wizard says Nets over is the play. So I guess he agrees with me, or he's just saying the game in general goes over. But either way, I agree with you there. Clippers are finally starting to play D. Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, they're a pretty good defensive team. Spread, any props you like? Anything you're looking at there?
I did not check the prop market yet, Jeff. I just did the side and the totals for every game. But I'm completely with you. I think AD overs and Embiid overs, I don't really need to handicap. I feel free just putting those in these particular matchups every night. So I love the AD look you have, but I didn't have any other specific ones. I'm just going to basically bet each side that I gave out, and I'm going over in the Nets game with you, and I'm going to go under in the Knicks and Hawks game, even though I'm a little worried about that game. But all three games have gone under so far. I'll probably just keep betting it until the trend breaks. And if I lose that one, then I'm 3-1 on those unders, and I'm still fine with that.
Very good, very good. Indy 500s today. I know a lot of people. I always am fascinated by, weirdly enough, I was watching a race. I guess the pre-race last week, it was like a kind of a starter race or something. I was at my gym working out, doing cardio, and I had it on TV. Spread, it's amazing, whether it's NASCAR or Indy 500, it's amazing how fast those cars go and how they can drive on that fast.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible. I mean, anyone that's in, I can't lie, I've won 100 or higher in a car before. It's not pleasant, particularly. At any time, you could crash. It's not ideal, but with how small those cars are, it's pretty incredible how fast they go. Just have some fun today. I'm going to throw out a selection here. Okay.
All right.
Again, look, I don't know anything really about this. But one game I do know, and that I watched the other night, there are two guys that I'm looking at. Obviously, the guy on the poll, Scott Dixon, he's the favorite. Everybody thinks he can get the job done, and he's going to be your favorite. But I'm going to look at this guy, Alexander Rossi. I think he's the co-favorite. He won the Indy 500 recently in 9th pole position. He's in 10th today. Got a pretty damn good car. He's I think, the guy right there with Dixon towards the end. He's had some really good finishes recently, kind of right there. 2nd in 2019, 4th in 2018. Did win in 2016. I think he's right there to win this. I think he can get 13-1 on him right now. I'm going to take a shot with Alexander Rossi, the Italian, to drink the milk today at the Indy 500. Spread, anything you're betting on outside of the NBA today? There's not much outside of baseball, really.
Well, no, I got some French Open action going here.
Okay.
So I got the over in the Madison Keys match, and I have Cameron Moutet to win as a slight underdog here. So yeah, I've actually had action going. I woke up to a 3-2 so far on my ATP bets. So yeah, I mean this is a fantastic weekend for sports. NBA playoffs in full effect. We got the French Open, Memorial Day, and of course the Indy 500, and of course Memorial Day weekend baseball. So what a great weekend to be an American.
No, you're totally right about that, and it finally seems like we are back here in America, which is exciting. Real quick, Nadal is a gigantic favorite. Any shot he loses tomorrow to Alexei Popyrin?
Nope,
No.
I like Nadal to win the whole tournament. I put it down a future on him to win. I think it's like -115, -120. He traditionally wins here. The best of 3 of 5 is huge for a conditioning freak like him. And on the clay circuit, this is the slowest, the Philippe Chatrier, where they play the main arena for tennis. It's the slowest on all of the whole clay swing for Europe. So it's a huge advantage for Nadal here. He loves the conditions. He loves the gigantic court. It's perfect for him. So until he loses, it's just like the Knicks under. Until he loses, I'll just continue to back him because, I've been winning up money on him for the last 4 or 5 years. I like Rafael Nadal to win this tournament on the men's side.
Very good. Sad news report in the NBA. Mark Eaton,
Yeah.
Utah Jazz, great player, passed away at the age of 64 after a bicycling crash. That's horrible. Very sad. I know Sean Bradley had some kind of a bike accident as well, I believe, recently. The old played for the Mavs and the Sixers.
He was a Sixer too, right? When you guys had that wacky owner. And I remember
Yes.
reading cool stories that who was that guy that was the owner?
Pat Croce?
Yeah, and he was really into weightlifting and being buff, and he
He's
kept
actually
trying to
still
get
around,
he tried to get Bradley right to bulk up, and he would buy him all these protein supplements and everything, and then he'd come over, and Bradley would just be chomping on McNuggets, and I remember reading like how frustrated he was getting with his ability to try and get Bradley to gain some weight.
I mean, it was a terrible pick, but yeah, it's sad. I mean, Mark Eaton, biking accident, passed away. Sean Bradley paralyzed after a biking accident. It's fascinating that men that tall are bicycling. That's pretty interesting. But sad stories out of the NBA. Both kind of, were Bradley was a Mormon. I believe Eaton was as well out in the West Coast. Sad to hear Mark Eaton dead at the age of 64. Very sad. All right, we're out of here. I hate to end on bad news, but I'm going to end on good news. There are 2 things I need all of you to do. I need you to go check out the great Spread Astaire. You can find him on Twitter at Spread Astaire. Great basketball handicapper, really good content he's putting out on the NBA. As he alluded to, he does tennis as well, does other sports, so make sure you check him out and what he's got going on. Always appreciate talking to you, Spread Astaire. You can also find me on Twitter at Jeff Nadu, as many of you know. Most of you follow me. You can also find me on The Sit Down, a podcast about the mafia and organized crime. I know a lot of people we want you to do Al Capone, do this, do that. We're going to do all sorts of people. We got Whitey Bulger coming out this coming week. It's going to be a huge show. Might be our biggest yet. We're going to do drug gangs. We're going to do plenty of mobsters. So make sure you keep checking it out. We're getting very good feedback about it. People are enjoying the show. They like the storytelling aspect of it. So on a Memorial Day weekend, you got nothing to do, check out The Sit Down, a mafia and crime podcast. You can find it on anywhere you get your podcast. Spread, good stuff. Always good talking to you. Enjoy your weekend. What do you got going on? Anything?
No, not much. We had Little League yesterday, so that was a lot of fun. Today I will be doing the live show with Jason, the Sports Keg, at 6:30 Eastern, and so he'll be on for the NASCAR, and I'll be giving out plays for the NBA during that show. So I'll be on the air this evening, and then tomorrow we're just going to relax and have a lot of fun. I told you it's scheduled to be 106. So we're going to do our barbecuing and our outdoor activities in the morning, and then probably just relax in the afternoon and get ready for the NBA playoffs to start. So once again, thanks for having me on. I look forward to coming on the show every week, and I'm looking forward to hanging out again next weekend.
Well, maybe I'll have to get with Jason and come on that show for a couple of minutes later. I don't know how uniform that is, but
nope. I'll tell him to send you an invite, open invite for you for sure. So I'll let him know.
Good. I haven't talked to Jason in a while. Good stuff. All right, Spread. Thanks as always. We will talk to you again next week. All of you have a great night. Thanks for listening. If you're out there, be safe. Enjoy your Memorial Day. Let me tell you all one thing before we go. Here's some advice. Look the hell around you today. Look at what we have finally. We had remember last year this time?
Yeah.
The awful time it was. Do you imagine having to relive that again? We've all been through this. All of us have been a part of this. Look around, wake up, smell the coffee today. Life is good. Remember that. And shout out to all the veterans. Don't forget what Memorial Day is, by the way. I watched Saving Private Ryan the other night. Just hideous. It's sad that people had to go through that to protect our country. Have a great night. Appreciate all of you. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Here on Pickswise, presented by FanDuel, noon Eastern. We'll break down the NBA on Memorial Day. Have a good night. Thanks, Spread. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on, Jeff.
We'll talk to you later, everybody. Bye-bye.